Morning, I'm Jen Blandos. I am from UN Women. I'm an entrepreneurship consultant with UN Women, and I'm here today to help you go through the Build Your Business Plan workshop. And we have a fantastic session and a fantastic trainer, Gergana Abdulrahman, who is so experienced in business planning, and she's going to take you through step by step how to create your business plan. If we could go to the next slide, please.
Yeah.
So,
sorry about that.
That's okay. So there's me, there's Gergana. And you see Gergana on the screen. And Gergana is going to introduce herself in a second, but while we're still having a few other people come in, as always with these, I'm going to go through just a few housekeeping points because there are so many things that are going on right now with UN Women and NAMA, with the UN Women NAMA program, that I would really like to just remind you about what's going on. And if this is the first session that you have attended, just to give you a recap of what you're doing. If you have attended one of these sessions with us before, I'm sorry, there's a tiny bit of repetition, but there's also a lot of new information that I'm going to share with you as well. So if we could go to the next slide. One other thing that I would love to have you do, because as we know, all of us in business, it's great to be on social media and to be communicating this on social media. So we would love it. You're certainly welcome to take screenshots of this, share it on social media. Here's some of our tags that you can use to tag us on social media for NAMA Women, UN Women Arabic. Gergana's company is Wild Fabrik. And then if you want to tag me as well, I'm as Jen Blandos on Instagram and Jennifer Blandos on LinkedIn. And we will share those tags as well throughout the presentation, so you don't need to worry. But if you feel inspired at any point to tag UN Women and NAMA Women, it would be fantastic. So if we go to the next slide, couple of recaps. So the NAMA UN Women program is a 2-year program that's going until the end of 2022. And the online workshops that you're taking part in is just one of the many things that we have coming up over the next year and a half. There's also going to be mentoring. And I know a lot of women have asked for mentoring, either to be a mentor or to have a mentor who is going to help them grow within their business. And I'm very, very pleased that I'm going to share some information with you about that and how that's working. Shortly as well, we're also going to be sharing information about an accelerator that we are actually going to be running with UN Women. It's going to be 16 weeks long, and we are going to run it 3 times over this period. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities for women if they want to have support in building and growing their business, that this accelerator will really help. For people who are more established in their businesses, we're also going to have some weekends that are going to be really laser focused on areas that will help people to really build and scale their businesses. We're also going to be having some support to help women pitch to investors, because I know that's important. And as always as well, we love to be able to give you opportunities for networking, both online, such as even within a session like this. When we've run other sessions, we've found that ladies have found ways to network with each other, but also offline, and we'll be announcing some of those initiatives shortly as well. So just to recap for you on our training courses, if I can have the next slide, please. We're going to be running 2 to 3 sessions a month. Now, on Mondays, we're focusing on having more foundation courses. And these mainly are for people who have new businesses, but not always. Sometimes it might be a new skill or an area that maybe you haven't been doing in your business already. And so it really depends upon where you are within your business. But Monday are more of the foundation level courses. And then Wednesdays are going to be more on growth and established businesses. So today we're doing one on business planning. At the end of the month, we're going to be doing one on digital marketing strategy, and information will be shared about that shortly as well. And I'm so pleased to say too that it's really important for us that we want to have at least 1/3 of our content for all of you delivered in Arabic. And so later this month as well, actually on Sunday, we're going to be having a workshop on creating a business model canvas. Now, this is something that Gergana is going to talk about in today's session. And then on Sunday, unfortunately, I'm sorry for all of those who don't speak Arabic, but this is going to be an Arabic only session on Sunday that will be run with my colleague Maya and Sally from Shira in Sharjah. So we'll be having a great session for that on Sunday. So if I can have the next slide, please. Now, a few people, and I'm even getting DMs in my message box here as well, saying, tell me about the mentoring. So we are going to be launching in September a mentoring program. We are going to be running these every 6 months. So the plan would be that the mentoring that you would have with your mentor would last for 6 months. So the first program that we are aiming to start is going to be in September. This week, we are sending out applications for people to be mentors. So that is for more experienced business people who want to be able to support women in business. And that can either be men or women. They could be entrepreneurs or they could be senior business leaders who want to be able to use their skills and their knowledge to be able to help women in business. So we, over the next couple of weeks, we will be bringing together those people, identifying how many mentors we have as part of the program. And then later this month, we will be opening it up to all of you who would like to have a mentor, and you will be able to apply. So keep watching your inbox. If you're not on the UN Women mailing list, the email address for UN Women is just on the page here as well. It's uae.entrepreneurs@unwomen.org. I'm sorry, the UN Women, the UN is missing from the UN Women there, but it should be at unwomen.org as well. So that is how you are able to go and reach out to them. And if I could have the next slide, please. One other thing that I would like to tell you about is from our partner, the Dubai Women Business Council, and they are running a program right now which you're able to go and apply for. The deadline is the 18th of August, and it's an accelerator and an incubator for new businesses that you can go to them and pitch your business idea, and there's a number of funding and support which is available for you as well. So if you want to apply for that, you can go and look on the Dubai Women Business Council's website, and they'll be able to give you more information about that. Okay, now, just before we kick everything off, we want to give you a little poll. So if we could go to the next slides. What we would like to do is we want to, before we kick everything off with Gergana, it's really great if we can understand where you are in your business at the moment. So Maya, if you would be able to launch the poll, everybody's going to see a poll come up, and it's going to have 3 questions. And it would be fantastic if you could go through and answer all 3 of these questions for us. Let us know what stage your business is at. Let us know if you've created a business plan before.
Can you say
and we would like to know as well where you are right now in your business. So 3 quick questions. We have over 132 people so far today. So if we could try and get as many of you as possible just answering those, because it's also going to help us in making sure that we pitch everything at the right level for you and meet you at where you are at the moment in your business. And it's all confidential, so you don't need to worry about saying something that you might be embarrassed about, or even if you've had a business for 5 years or 10 years and you've never had a business plan, that's okay as well. You know, and there's a lot of businesses that are in that situation, that they've just had an idea and they've created a business and then have realized afterwards that maybe a business plan would help them in their business. So right now we have 86. Can I please ask that everybody else fills this in really quickly, because it will help us in understanding. Let's get our responses over 100, please, at least, so we can get a high number of responses, so we really know where we can support you in this session. Come on, let's get us over 100. Come on, ladies, if you haven't done it, let's let's fill this in. Let's get to the magic number of 100 so we can do that. Okay, give it just another few seconds and then we'll close this poll. Okay, Maya, let's end the poll. Okay, so
I'm just waiting to have 100.
Just looking at this really quickly, we have a pretty interesting balance. So we have some people who have a business plan already, but they're not licensed, who have a business. Some people have had a business for between 2 to 5 years. And then we have a few who have been business owners for longer as well. About 36% of people have created a business plan before, where we have 64 who haven't created a business plan. So that's good as well. That again, I guess those of you who have created a business plan before, that maybe you're in this session to sense check it and to see if there's any gaps or anything that you've missed as part of that as well. And then if we look at where we are at the moment, we have 35% know that they need a business plan, but they've not started. Some 32% have started writing a business plan. 28% have started their business without a business plan. And I've started my business without a business plan twice. So yeah, we've got probably about 30%. Sorry, I was a bit confused by that. I think that question got answered twice. So we've got quite an even balance there as well within that. So I think what we're going to find within this session is that we're going to find that there's going to be something for everyone. You are going to see that some of you will have created a business plan before, and maybe you're here to sense check it, where others maybe haven't started as well. One of the things that I do hear from women entrepreneurs sometimes, so is that they'll say, oh, who can I hire to go and create a business plan for me? And I feel really, really strongly against that, that nobody is going to understand your business like you understand your business. And that's why it's really important to get your hands into your business plan and to be involved in creating it. So on that, I'm so delighted that we have Gergana here, and she's going to take us through the steps. And I love the presentation that she's put together for you because it's so practical and it's going to make creating this business plan so simple for you as well. So Gergana, I'm going to hand it over to you and let's get going.
Hi, thank you, Jen, and hello everybody. This is the first time I've met any of you, probably, so I'm happy to meet you. To start with, I just wanted to let you know a bit about me. So I'm the co-founder of Wild Fabrik. Wild Fabrik is a passion project of mine. It revolves around sustainability, e-commerce, but what's really important is to give you how I got here. So starting up businesses is my background, and I've been doing it for about maybe 12 to 15 years now. Originally, I started in events, and then I set up my own restaurant. And from there, I set up businesses for a big Emirati company here in the UAE. And through my process of starting businesses, I have to say I've learned a hell of a lot. And from the very first one, where it was, I wouldn't call it a failure, but there was things that could definitely have been improved. And I wish I had groups like this for advice and places to go and get information from, such as this. At that time, I didn't have access to it, or I didn't know about it. And throughout my years, I've really been able to hone in my skills in starting up businesses. Specifically from a brand perspective, from a business startup perspective, all the way from literally from an idea onwards. So planning a business is very complex. When we go through the business plan that we will, you will see how everything fits together. And I've been able to do it several times. So hopefully I can answer all your questions if you have any, and I've been able to educate sufficiently for you. Okay, so starting off, I would say it's important to frame how you think about a business plan. So a business plan, like anything else, it's anything else you do in life, it's super important to get off doing it before you actually do the thing. So I'll use a relatable example, right? Let's say you have a baby shower. Let's say you're arranging a baby shower for a family member or a friend. Clearly, you wouldn't just go to the shop and start buying stuff, right? Even though you know what you need, you know that you have to make a baby shower. So you would start by first thinking about baby showers, what's needed, who will be there. You know, you also would look up things, you would research, you would see what other people are doing for baby showers. You would really think it through on every level. And I would say the business plan is quite similar to that. You know, you're thinking about what, why, how, who, where. You're thinking about how much it will cost. And you also think about the risks, you know, like especially now during COVID, if you're trying to have an event, there's a potential that tomorrow it might not be even possible, right? So that's a risk, and that's something that you have to consider. So just the same as a baby shower, your business is the same. And you should be thinking about all of these elements way before you start, way before you even get a license. Because as soon as you get a license, this is where cost starts to run, right? And through your process, which we're going to go over, things might change. You know, as you're doing your research, maybe when you started your baby shower idea, you were thinking you wanted to do giraffes and animals, but then, you know, you did your research and you found out, no, you found something much nicer, much cuter, much more needed. So you would change your idea midway through. So imagine if it was a business and you had registered your name having something to do with giraffes. Then later you have to go and change, and that is an additional cost. So I'm using this example to sort of give you an overview of what a business plan is and how to frame it and why it's important. So we will start with the framework. So it's important to make a note here that when I say framework, it is usually how a business plan is written. When you write a business plan, you have to consider who you're writing it for and why. So are you writing it for yourself? You should definitely be writing it for yourself. One way or another, you should consider yourself as one of the main people that this business plan is for. But you could also be getting an investor, right? You could be looking for funding. So you need to consider that when you write your business plan. Each business that you're in, whether it's already started or it's something you're doing on your own or you're something you're doing with partners, you have to consider these points of reference when you're writing it, because the way you represent yourself in your business should be in your thought process. So using this framework, maybe some areas will be filled out more, maybe some areas will be filled out less. Perhaps you will have some areas where like, okay, maybe this is minimal for me. Maybe it's a service industry rather than a sales or a retail industry. All these things come into play, right? Because you won't have the same. So if you're selling giraffe decorations, it's very different than if you're pitching a service of decorating someone's house with giraffes. All of that you have to outline in your plan, right? So let's take a look at the framework itself. At first, what I will do, I will lead you through the framework. We're going to go through kind of the main points, the main headlines, information that you should have. And later on, we'll go into detail on some of the more important ones. If you have any questions, please make sure you write in the chat, and then Jen will interrupt accordingly and let me know what you're asking. I want you to feel that you can ask anything. You know, it's usually easier if you answer, get your answers from now rather than waiting to review it later. Okay, so usually in a business plan, the first few pages are actually the thing that you will do last. So your cover page, which is where you just state the contact information, the company, the email address, you might not even have that yet when you first write this business plan. You don't have your email set up, you don't have anything, but you would at least create a template for it. You have executive summary. Again, this is probably the last thing you'll do, because initially it's just an idea. When you're starting your business, you'll say, okay, I wanna sell decorations for baby showers. So the executive summary should be your key points of the venture. It should capture the attention of the reader. It should make it interesting. So if you're pitching to an investor, or even if you're showing it to, let's say, someone you want to co-found with, they need to be interested. And this part of your business plan needs to capture them. So why are you setting up this business? What is it about you? How does it relate to you? These are all things, emotional things that you can add, as well as add the facts, which you will have once you've finished it. Table of contents, as it says, table of contents, you should have that so that it's very clear to the reader what's in the next pages and what is on what page. Your business description and your finance request. Again, this might be relevant, this might not. You might not have a request for finance, and that's fine. You don't have to have that there. Maybe the business plan is just for you at this point, and that's also fine. For your business description, it's your organization, your resources, your production, your market and past experiences. All of that should be there, right? So the relevant information. And the next one, which is interesting to add, and most people say, well, I'm a solo entrepreneur, I don't have a management team, it's just me doing everything, and that's fair, and that's a lot of people start that way. But at the end of the day, even a solo entrepreneur cannot do everything perfectly themselves, and you have to consider your time also valuable. So you have to focus on your genius, whatever that is. Maybe you're an excellent influencer, you know how to do online strategy, and you can do a fantastic job. Great, that should be your focus. But maybe, I don't know, finances are not your key strength. So bring someone on board, whether temporarily or full-time. You have to work it later on. We can talk about budgets and that. But you have to consider what parts are needed in a business, all of the parts, yeah? So from operations all the way through marketing, all of it. And say, okay, what parts can I really do right now? And what parts I will need some help with? And you have to budget for that accordingly. So your management team should be clear. If I was an investor and I'm reading this business plan, I know already that you can't do everything. So if you've not outlined this clearly, I would say that you're reaching. You don't know what you're doing. And that is the first kind of red line that you don't want to have, right? You want to be very clear in the beginning. This is what I can do. This is what I plan on outsourcing. Maybe not now, maybe later, but this is my plan. So that part should be clear. Moving on to the other key areas in the business plan, we're talking about, of course, your vision statement. So vision is looking ahead. So now, and mission, let's start with vision first. Vision is looking ahead. So like the sight in your eyes, you're looking forward. So let's say today you want to design wedding planner favors, but tomorrow you want to also advise people on wedding planning, right? So this is your plan for now, this is your plan for tomorrow. Your vision should be encompassing that. And your mission is simple. It's why your business exists. Why are you doing this? Which you will find, again, through research, not just personal. So why do you think the world needs another party planner or another kind of party decorations? Why? So it needs to be clear. It can't be, shouldn't be that you just think it. It needs to be backed by some sort of research. And we'll go into research on a deeper level. But you need to have validation of your idea, right? Your business objective. So critical activities that affect the competitive position of your business, right? So where are you trying to reach? Business objectives are also KPIs, so key performance indicators. Again, we will go into detail later on this one, but you have them outlined in your business plan here with backup and research, of course. Your business strategy is what is the SWOT analysis, if you have heard that before. Strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. We'll go into detail on that one because it's very, very important. And your value proposition. So what is a value proposition? We'll also go into detail about, but just to sum it up, it's what makes your idea or your business special. What is it that you're offering that no one else has? Which again, you need to know who else is in the market in order to say no one else has, right? Okay, a marketing strategy. Marketing strategy and brand should be considered from the beginning. So there's a course on that. I think Jen has planned a course on specifically for brand. And I'm sure most of you, when you start your idea, you already have some sort of image in mind for your idea. This is the brand, that emotion, that feeling behind what you're trying to do. It needs to be part of your strategy. It needs to, so strategy and emotion are two different things, of course. Strategy is how you're going to take that emotion out. How are you gonna take your idea and allow other people to see it? So that is strategy. So is it going to be digital? Is it going to be on the ground? You know, and we can go into that as well a little bit later.
Gergana,
Operations
can I just
plan.
interrupt you before you move on to the next bit? The whole, and this gets asked all the time as well. We've been asked the difference between a business vision and objectives. Could you just clarify that for everybody? Because I think there's confusion with a few people.
Yeah. So a vision is very top level. It's very like, it's very, you almost say emotional. It's like, we want to become the very best providers of party planning materials in the UAE. We want to provide the most unique service. So this is vision. It's very top level. And then the objectives or the KPIs are how, you know, what are the specific measurable things that you're setting in place that prove that that's what you will become. So one is a bit top level and the other is very much data driven. Does that make sense? Yeah, perfect.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so operations. Usually when people have ideas, this area can be quite difficult. It's different for service-based and it's different for product-based, but operations should not be taken lightly. You know, so if you even look at a simple bottle like this, you need to know whatever product you're selling or whatever thing you're doing, you need to know it inside and out. So one of the businesses that I started before was a chocolate business, to give an example. So when I started it, I didn't know much about chocolate. And I spent a huge amount of time researching chocolate from A to Z, how it's grown, where it's grown, how it's made, how it's melted. So knowing the whole process is super important. Now, which part of that process you will do yourself, that's completely up to your business idea, of course. But you need to know it all because that will prevent you from coming into things that you don't expect. And it happens. No matter how much you research, you will find things you don't expect. But you should plan it as much as you can. Organizational plan is a little bit like the management plan that management team that I showed earlier, but this is a lot more detailed. So this should give you a structure. This should see who reports to who's running what. And maybe what you will have in the beginning, it's very small. And you can also have, it will probably be in the financial forecast. You can show where you're planning on growing from this perspective. So if in 1 year, you're planning on hiring 5 people, that should be in your forecast. And that should be your future organization plan, let's say. Okay. The most important and the thing that you can only do once you've figured everything else out is the financial plan. If you don't know your operations and you don't know your marketing and you don't know your organization, you will not know your finances. So finance is super important, but it's usually done last and it's done after you've researched and written out everything like super detailed. And I'm talking really detailed. And always, we can talk about financial plan in detail because there's different things that you need to be doing on a regular basis. And again, if finance is not your thing, you need to get an expert. If there was an area that, you need to get an expert on, it is definitely finance. It's not something you mess around with because at the end of the day, it's your livelihood. And marketing as well, just to add. Okay. So this is the overall framework. Everything in here has its own detail, and I'm not going to go through each and every one in detail, but I will go over the important ones. When I think of a framework or a business plan, let's say, I think of it as a spider web, like the one you see. Why? You know, besides spider webs are built the way they're built because it makes them stronger. Each element connects to the other so that they can absorb, you know, like let's say an animal that falls into it. It is made to be strong. So if you have all of the elements of your framework worked out, then it will make it stronger. It will make your business stronger. It will make it resistant to the things that can come your way. It will make it resistant towards potential risks, which you also have to think of, right? So financial planning, your SWOT, your operations, your goals, your vision, your KPIs, brand, your customer, and your marketing and sales. These are the things that make up a business. The more you have them figured out, the stronger it gets. And at the center of it is research. And research has to be the one thing that probably every business owner doesn't do enough. Me included, when I first started my business, I did some research. I thought it was enough. And then afterwards, I was like, oh, I wish I knew that. Oh, I wish I figured that out. And it could mean literally the failure of your business if you did not research it enough. Many people sometimes ask me, well, what if, you know, I do my research and it says that my idea is not good? Can I just do it anyways because I think it's good? And I say, you know, no, you should look into, okay, do your own research. Go into what you think. Frame it yourself. But you need backup. You need some sort of other information that allows you to open that door and start. And I want to mention that a business plan is not static. So you will have to revise, review. You will always go back and change it as things change forward. So now what I'll do is I'm going to go into some of these in detail, starting with the one I just mentioned, which is research, because again, it is the most important. Research. So what do you need to know when you're starting a business? You need to know your market. So are you starting in Dubai? Great. So you need to know about Dubai. Who lives here? How many of those people live here? So if you're targeting, let's say, because customer is a part of it, right? Let's say you decide who your customer is and it's a woman. Let's use the baby example. It's a good one. So you're doing baby planning, right? So your key customer should be a woman, probably. I don't see men planning baby showers in mass. So how many women live in Dubai? How many women that can afford your product live in Dubai? How many women that afford your product that live in Dubai that would buy your product, that are in that age group or that time of a frame? So these are all numbers, but these numbers affect your sales. Because if you're going to say, I'm going to have 100 sales every month, right? But if you had only 20 women, it's very hard for you to have that projection. So you need to know who your market is. Apart from the demographics in your market, you need to know how people have baby showers. What are the general market conditions? Is it customary to have baby showers? Maybe some places don't, right? So all of this information is relevant to you. You need to know it and you need to have it written down. The numbers will be something that you'll use for your modeling, your financial planning. Customer, we mentioned, and customer will go into more detail, but you need to know who your customer is. You need to outline that. You need to know how many of them there are. You need to know where they are. And you're starting in Dubai, but as your KPIs will probably indicate, you're probably going to grow, right? So it's not just your market here, it's also your future market, because that allows you to plan for the next 1 year, 5 years, right? So it's important to do really good research. To mention here on this research, there is different ways of doing this. So there are companies that do this, like Tuluna and some others, that you can go to them and say, I'm looking for this information. And they'll tell you, most of them already have reports ready. So some of these reports might be the things you can use, and that means it's less expensive. You can also do surveys. You can do on-the-ground surveys. You can do questionnaires. You can do focus groups. You can do it yourself. Or if you've never done it before, you can actually get help from these companies. They do it for you and they frame it for you. So for example, you know, they work with you to outline what information you need exactly. And they help you get it. And you can also use Google. I'm big for Google, but you know, not just the first page of the search. You really need to go deep into what's out there. There's a lot of reports. There's a lot of, you know, Ernst & Young and all these major consultancies. They have a lot of data. And they release reports all the time. And these reports end up becoming available to the public. Like bits of them are reposted by other companies. And you can find that actually much easier than you think. So don't be afraid to spend a lot of time on the computer and Google it, research it. You know, if you don't have the budget too much, then try to do it yourself. But do allocate a little bit of budget. You're gonna need it. You should do the research properly. The research will indicate whether or not you're going in the right direction.
Gergana, before we jump in, there's a few questions that I just want to address with that. One, somebody asked, are surveys actually legal in the UAE? You can, yes. Do you want to address that?
They are, but you would need permission. You would need permission to do the survey. So you can do a digital survey without permission. So for example, when we started Wild Fabrik, we did surveys online. So we created a survey using SurveyMonkey and with the questions that we wanted to know. And we went out and we did it on Facebook. Actually, Female Fusion was super helpful around that time. And we did like different answers from people. And then we took that data and we analyzed it. So digital is totally legal. On the ground it is as well, but you need permission and you need to check with whatever area that you're going to do it to get the right permissions in place.
Can we also talk quickly about, a few people were asking about where you get people to be part of your research, and maybe also touching on the asking of friends, because I think oftentimes entrepreneurs can be tempted to reach out to their friends because that is an easy source of people, and maybe why it's not a good source of information.
Yeah. I mean, we tend to surround ourselves with people that agree with us. It is statistics, you know, the people around us are people we enjoy spending time with. So they're people that we tend to agree with on lots of things. But when you're starting a business, you're going to need a lot more than those people. You know, depending on how your business is framed and who you're targeting, you need to know what other people think. And you need to also decide if your opinions, and is enough people having your opinions matter, or you need to target other opinions. Also, when you do the research, don't be scared to see this information, because you will find sometimes you were looking for something, but you find something else that is actually way more important. So using a real example, when Wild Fabrik, when we did our surveys for sustainability, we thought everyone wants to buy sustainable stuff. Of course, it's, you know, trending and it's on the point and But the reality of the surveys quickly showed that people buy things that are easy to find, less expensive, and fit within their budgets. And if sustainability is there, great. But if it's not, it's not. So our initial thought didn't match our research findings. And then we pivoted to meet that. You know, you don't just ignore it. When you find something and it keeps popping up at you, you don't ignore it. You have to be ready to shift your business accordingly, because that's what research is for. I hope that answers the question. Any other questions on that?
For now, I think it's good. There's a lot that we need to get through, so I'll come back to you with some other questions in a minute.
Okay, sure thing. Competition, competitors, this is key, because if you're gonna figure out what your value proposition is, so what are you offering that no one else has, you need to know who's in the market, locally, regionally, and globally. Because if you don't do that research, then what you're promising might not meet the need. So maybe you're saying I have the most female focused decorations, But then if you do the research, you find that like 5 other companies are claiming the same thing. So that's not unique anymore. And you will only find that out if you knew who your competitors are. Also, looking at your competitors and what they're doing and what works and what doesn't work can help you also frame your, your business. So your competitors should be something you're always looking to. I know everyone's trying to do their own thing and have the best idea that's different. But in order for you to say different, you need to know what people are doing and you need to benchmark. These people are successful for certain reasons and you need to see why, and you need to figure that out. And you need to, use those learnings for your setup. Product. So is your product something that people want and need? Can you make it easy? Can you find it easy? All the things that we talked about in product needs to be researched. The cost of what it takes to make it, the cost that it takes to ship it to you if you're reselling it. These are all going to come into your finances. So you need to research it really well, find multiple suppliers. If it's a supplier-based business, look into the product that you're offering. If it's a service-based business, what are you offering and how does that match to what's around and what can you add extra? What are people looking for? So all of that comes into the product research. And you can do, by the way, online research in the sense of, I'm sure you've seen it. Sometimes you have let's say an ad comes to you of a product, and then when you click on it, it says it's not available yet, but sign up, and that is someone doing research. That's someone testing the market to see how much interest there is in their product, and most probably before they've even created it, which is something that you should be doing. Okay, so moving out of research, again, everything touches back here, but moving out of it, we need to do a little bit more on customer. So your customer, we talked a bit about finding out who that customer is through research, through your general understanding of the topic. I'm sure whatever your idea is, it probably comes from a need. And most of the time it comes from a need that you see for yourself, right? So you're missing this thing that you want to create, whether it's a service or whatever. So you need to create what it's called customer profiles. So these people that you think need this service, you need to write down who they are. Are they women? What's their age? What are they interested in? Where they're going? What kind of brands do they buy? What kind of services do they buy? You need to really create these profiles for yourself. And sometimes it's not an age group. Sometimes it's, let's say yogis. You're doing a yoga product and your target is across multiple age groups. But your target is more about the demographic. It's people that like yoga, yogis, right? So people that enjoy yoga in any way. So that oversees your age group. And this is important when you're doing your marketing and your brand. So when you're setting up a brand, your logo needs to be appealing to that target demographic, your main one, your main and secondary, let's say. So you won't that logo until you have the customer and clear in your mind, like what they're looking for and how they see things. So what looks good to me as, let's say, newly married woman might look different to a teenage girl. So how does that relate to me versus the teenage girl? So that's why you need to really be clear on your customer, right? What do they need? What do they want? What are their goals? Sorry, it's just frozen a little bit. Yeah. So this is a good outline as to how you can, this is a framework you can use. This is one that I've used before. It shows you a brief in one page about your customer. So you should have 3, maybe 4 of these. So your key customer, your secondary customer, and your tertiary customer, right? So it has name, it has some of their background, their goals, inspired by. You can see like the brands that they like to buy. This gives you an idea, right? It automatically gives you an idea of what this customer would like. And you use this in your marketing. So if your customer, let's say, is on Facebook more than Instagram, then you need to focus on Facebook for your advertising, right? So where do they go? What do they do? What is your customer? What is the touch points for your customer? Who do they trust the most? What tools they use digitally or on the ground. All of these touch points, once you've allocated them, then that kind of starts to frame your marketing strategy. Your strategy it's not just, I'm going to target them on Instagram. There's so many other opportunities to target a customer other than only Instagram. And Instagram now especially is flooded with brands. So you need more, and you need to really think about how you can reach that customer in the most creative and happy way. This is an example of a value proposition canvas. We mentioned it, the value proposition before, but this is what, so online, there's a lot of tools available. I'm showing you some. I've used these before personally, and I find them very helpful because they take all the things that happen when you're thinking this and you're getting them clearly out. So here you would have the needs of the customer, the wants of the customer, and what you're offering to meet that need. So all of that is listed here. You can actually, I'm not sure, but in my business plan, I actually have this canvas as one page. So when I'm talking about value proposition, I actually plug it in there because it's a very visual way of getting that information out. But again, you don't have to use this. This is just a tool. You can have your own way of describing the same information out. From customer, we move to marketing, of course. This is a marketing brief. Again, this is another tool. At the end of the day, tools help us visualize things. And especially now canvases, and these things are called canvases. They help you really just see it in one page without reading it long. So this tool in particular is quite helpful because you can see, who you're marketing to. You write that in there. What are the tools? What is the strategy that you're using, right? And for each strategy, what is your budget? So this comes into the marketing budget, which then falls into your financial overall budget, right? Again, all your touch points. How are you going to touch this customer? I'm going to talk about marketing a little bit, starting with brand, right? So going back to the importance of brand, you need to think of brand probably from before you do everything. And the way brand is usually done, it's not just price, perception. It's not just a logo. It's about how you talk as a brand. So a good example, Switch. I'm sure most of you know burgers, and they have a language, right? They speak a certain way. They use certain words. Their logo reflects who they are and what they're trying to say. So a brand has to have all of that. A brand is not just a logo. Think of a brand as a person. If you meet this brand on the street, how quickly can you figure them out? Are they gonna are they gonna do what they say and say what they do? So how authentic is that brand? Just like a person. More important than anything, you should frame that before you even start speaking to your customer. Yes. Okay. Another important area are the touch points. I want to touch a little bit more on touch points because, again, Instagram shouldn't be your only method. It can be one of your methods and could be your main one if that works for your business. But there's other things. There's SEO, there's search engine optimization, which me and Jen were just talking about right before the session. And what is search engine optimization? I'm going to give you a really brief about it, although I'm sure they're going to do another session. When you go on Google, and that's usually one of the first places people go, right? I'm looking for party planner. You go on Google. So the first things you see on Google is your ads. And after that, you start seeing different businesses listed, right? So around 80% of people tend to click on the first business listed, the first or the second. Ads as well have performance, but ads are expensive. Ads are per click, and that can change also. That can change drastically from day to day, because if today your ad has a word in it that everyone wants, then that cost of ad is more expensive. But to list your brand, for your brand to come first underneath the ads, there is back-end work that's required for that. And this is, it's like long-term work. If you do it right, then your business will show up, let's say on certain pages always in the first. And that will lead people to your website, which will lead people, if your website is done nicely and what they're needing, it will lead people to buy your product. People tend, not all people, but there's a lot of people that don't understand it, so they tend to avoid the subject. But SEO is a lot of businesses survive strictly from that, from Google. They might not even have a social presence and they're making money. So it's definitely not something to ignore. Is there any questions on SEO? I thought perhaps there might be on this. Jen, are you there?
I am. So far, there's nothing on SEO. I have other questions that have been asked around research, and I'm just going to save those until the end, I think, to let you get through some of this, and then we'll go through that.
All right. All right. Another part of marketing that I really have to talk about is content. And I don't mean content like just written content. Now I'm talking about what we call in the industry assets. Assets include images, videos, written content, such as blogs, the way your website is written, everything that's written on your social, like the captions and things. These are all assets. And chances are you might not be able to do all of them. You know, I can take really good images, for example, but I cannot do a good video. That's 100%. So this is when you start, you know, dissecting your business and what you will need for it from a marketing perspective. And if you know you need videos, you need to budget for videos. You need to find someone that can do it, maybe a freelancer, maybe, I don't know, depending on your budget, you can have a company. There's a lot of freelancers out there that are cost effective that you can work with all the time and get your, you know, get the stuff out. Maybe your business doesn't need a lot of videos. It could be a service that maybe you do have to have some video content, but not a lot. Again, this is how you start mapping it all out, right? It would vary on your customer as well. Maybe your customer is more teenagers who love TikTok, right? So you know you're gonna need TikTok videos. You know that maybe that's your main, one of the touch points that you need to have, TikTok. TikTok requires a lot of videos, you know, and then that can be costly. So you need to add that in your budget. You need to add that in your plan. You need to find the people that can do that for you, or you do it yourself. You need to plan that out. Marketing is all about planning. So it, you know, plan it out, create the content or get the content created for you, and make sure that, you know, you're consistent and you repeat things. I hate repeating things personally, and I always run stuff and I'm like, yeah, but I already mentioned that. No, you need to repeat. You repeat, because always, you know, the algorithms for social media, for example, they don't, everyone doesn't see it when it comes up. And that's just the way the algorithms have been done, right? So you have to repeat, make your brand clear, make what you're offering clear, make your message clear all the time. It has to be looking appealing. Your customer has to find it appealing. Maybe I won't, but if I'm not your main customer, then that's fine. But whoever your main customers are, they need to find it appealing, right? Has to be relevant for them. Yep, sorry, I skipped the gun on digital and SEO because I like it so much, but that was the fourth point. Another tool that can be used as a business model canvas. And as Jen mentioned, there's going to be a session on Sunday on that. So I'm not going to go in detail, but this is what it kind of looks like. And this is really clever. I love this canvas because in one page, you can quickly see your business quickly. Like you know, you have your channels, you have sort of where your costs are, where your revenue is coming, the key activities, your customer, you know, everything in one page. And that makes it easy. And the more simple, usually the better, because you don't want to overcomplicate, but you want to have enough information there that it makes sense. And another area from my experience that matters is to diversify your revenue. So if you are making, let's say, I don't know, let's say bottles of water, if you can, you know, have bottles of water for people, but then you're diversifying into, I don't know, supplying water for big water machines. Again, that's taking your resource of water and diversifying how your revenue can come. Maybe it's B2B. So you're going to go a little bit into B2B, and maybe it's B2C. B2B is business to business, and B2C is business to customer. So diversifying always helps, because if something is not doing well, then the other thing can pick up the slack, right? So Moving into the SWOT. So strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. Outlining this is key for your business. Strength and usually the top. So the top is your internal things. So internally, what are your strengths? What are your financial resources, physical resources, human resources? So maybe your partner is a creative director. That is a strength. You have that resource that can help with, let's say, lowering your budgets across in terms of asset creation, right? As well, you have natural resources, trademark, patents, copyright. Maybe you have things that that other people don't have. So it gives you a strength in that business, right? Maybe you have a database of like 50,000 people. That is a strength for sure, because now you have access to 50,000 people, and normally people don't have that. Weaknesses is the opposite side of that, right? And then you have at the bottom your external factors, the opportunities and the threats. So the market trends, economic trends, funding, relationships with suppliers and partners, and political environmental regulation changes, these kind of things. So these can fall either opportunity or threat. What's nice is that a threat is basically your risk. When you do your risk analysis, you can write next to it how you would handle that threat. So you create your risk plan from here, actually. And it can become an opportunity as well, sometimes. Your weaknesses can become strengths if you really address them properly. And it kind of goes in a circle, at least for me. What's nice is that, you see your business from this aspect, from internal and external, and you'll be able to handle things better once you know them. So, right, sorry, jumped the gun on that. All right, so moving forward. I think we are in the last slide, actually, Jen. Oh no, we have financial planning. The most important that we're going to go into detail about. So what is a financial plan? We mentioned it several times. We've already seen how marketing can come into play. Business operations can come into this. Every part of your business, including your time, should be considered in your financial plan. And there's key areas in a financial plan. One is your CapEx. So what is your setup costs, right? What are your unique setup costs? Maybe you're setting up a business and you need a website. A website is a capital expenditure. You're going to have to pay a developer or a company to do it, right? So that has to be part of your financial planning. All your setup costs have to be there. And then you have your monthly overheads. So monthly overheads, as it sounds, as it's written, it's your cash flow, right? What do you have every month? What do you have to spend every month? What's your minimum spend every month? If you're renting a shop, rent would fall here. Rent is your monthly overhead. You have to pay it monthly. Even though if you're paying it yearly, it's still kind of a monthly cost, right? That you're calculating. Any marketing costs on an ongoing basis. Maybe you hired someone as a freelancer, but it's retainer based. It's every month. All of these in your monthly overheads. It's key to keep this very low, as low as you can, because this will ensure you're lasting a long time at least. So in my experience, when you start up a business, if your overheads are low every month, then you can keep going longer. You can work on your marketing more. You can work on different things. You can increase that as you're growing. But at least if something happens, you can afford to keep going. A lot of businesses can't afford to keep going because their overheads are crazy. If you're paying off, I don't know, 1 million dirhams in rent plus salaries plus this plus that, that's a lot of overheads. Maybe you have the money and that's fine. And of course there's cases like that, but you really need to look at the business and make this number as low as possible with a plan of growth.
Gergana, we have a few ladies messaging me asking what CapEx is. And just to clarify, it's capital expenditure, capital expense. So maybe just if you can summarize quickly again everything that would come under capital expenditure.
Yeah, of course. So capital expenditure is right. I like to say it quickly as my setup costs. So what are the things that you need to set up your business? This includes if you have any rent, if you have any setup for your, let's say your license, the cost to start your business. What is the cost to start your business? You need to know what that is because you need to budget for that. You need to have that money available, whether it's through you or through an investor. That money has to be ready to go because you'll need it. If you have to buy, like let's say you have to buy a machine, let's say you're making a product, the machine would also come into that. Usually when you first start a business, you add what's your capital expenditure, and then you do a budget for how much overhead, let's say 6 months to a year, where you make sure you have that money, right? Because that's your combination, both capital and then your monthly overhead. But you add that as a financial amount that you should have as you're growing, because you're starting from zero, right? You're not going to have customers right away. You might not, you might, but you should have that cushion available. Does that answer? Yeah. So profit and loss is something you do every month. Again, if you don't know it, you get an accountant, you get help. What's your profit and loss? So as your business starts, so now, okay, you've invested in the business, it is done, it's set up, it's running now, right? So you're gonna have your monthly overhead, then you're gonna start making some money. You're selling things. There might be a period of time where you're still running at a loss. It means you're spending, let's say 10,000 a month as your monthly overhead, but you're only making 5. And so you're like 5,000 in. Fine, that's fair. It works. Like businesses take time to set up. That's why you created a cushion for yourself. That's why you have 6 to 1 year amount sitting in the bank, creating a cushion for you to be able to sustain these losses. But in your financial planning and part of the goals that you should set is a specific kind of growth that you're trying to see, matching with your marketing. So when you track it monthly, you should see growth. And if you don't see growth, if you're still at minus 5,000, 5 months in, or even 2 months in, or 3 months in, you need to really look at what you're doing. Is it you need more marketing? Is it something is off about your product and your customer, maybe? So you need to, this P&L gives you a chance to look at how your business is growing, and you have to always go back and look into the business and see how you can improve that. You should reach your break even, right? You should get to the point where your costs are matching what you're bringing in, and then everything above that is profit. Of course, you're going to have to pay back your capex. You will have to pay back what you invested, and there's other things you have to also consider, depreciation if there's machines and things like that. But if your business can operate without you injecting more money into it, you've reached a very good point. And then again, every month, P&L, you track it and you see growth, and you slowly pay back the initial investment by also putting some money for growth. You're going to have to plan that. Okay. Oh, and also what I didn't mention here that I should is the personnel planning. That also should be in your finance. So if you're going to increase staff, that should show. When you do financial planning, you're going to do, maybe your first year, but you should also try to forecast forward a little, if you know that you're going to move forward. And you need to allocate that in the financial plan as well. So that maybe you want to scale fast. So that means that, you've decided that in 6 months or a year, based on good, performance, you're going to scale now. So you know that you're going to need another injection of money to cover that extra amount that you're going to scale. Maybe you're going to hire 5 more people and you're going to set up 3 more websites, right? So you need to have allocated that in your financial plan and know that at this point, there's going to be a reinjection. Or the best option is your business made enough money for that reinjection to happen naturally, so you don't have to ask for more money. You don't have to find new money, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So key performance indicators. New business owners hate this, me included. Okay. Because, you know, you start a new business, you've done all your research, you've done everything, you've set up this plan. It's like, you know, you work the hell a lot of it. But then if I ask you, how much you think you're going to sell? And you go, I don't know, maybe my idea will rock it out of the park. Maybe I'm doing everything right, you know, and that would be great. But you should put some metric. Usually the main metric that people put, the easiest to put, is sales, right? Because that you can see and that you can track. And because you're doing your monthly P&Ls, you should be looking at this, you know, you should be looking at this carefully. You need to see an upward trend. And if you're not, you need to reevaluate. You need to go back and say, okay, why is this not happening? You know, so you should set that. And if you have done your customer, you know, part correctly, and also your marketing part correctly. So let's say marketing, let's say you've put in a certain budget and you're going to reach a certain amount of people. You should already have a slight indicator about from these people, how much you're expecting to like at least buy. You can be super conservative. Yes. But you should start, you know, you should have a growth plan. Your profit. So, you know, you're spending, let's say 10,000 and you're making 20,000. But, you know, from this, yeah. So where's your profit now? And this can be adjusted. Sometimes when you're starting a business, you know, let's say you're selling this. When you buy from the supplier, you're not going to go hard, right? You're going to get like 100 pieces. Your cost per piece is going to be higher, surely. And as you grow, your cost per piece might go down. So it is possible for you to forecast that and kind of grow your profit margin, even from a product level. You should know that when you do your product research and when you're speaking to suppliers, and you should say, okay, I'm going to buy 100 pieces, but if I want to buy 1,000 pieces, what would be the price then? You know, and so on and so forth. Gross profit margin. So that, sorry, to be specific, net and gross is after you've taken everything out, right? What is the amount of profit when you've taken everything out? Your marketing efforts, you've paid everyone, you've done everything, you know, so what is that amount? And that can fluctuate, of course, because if, let's say tomorrow you decided you're going to spend more on marketing, you know, your profit will go a little bit down, but again, perhaps so that you sell more. If you're selling more, even if your profit is less on a bigger scale, you're still making more money, right? So there's a careful balance here. And again, important, if you don't have an accountant, someone that can really help you with this, because when you're looking at the sheet, you should be able to see this. This is part of the reports that you should be either generating for yourself or getting generated for you so that you can analyze them, or have someone sit and tell you about it. Say, okay, this is what's happening with your business. And, you know, you want to expend more on marketing, you need to sell more. And this many people need to buy for you to be actually making more money on a bigger scale.
Gergana, if I can just add to that, because I'm getting a lot of questions about finance as well. There was a workshop done on finance a few months ago that we did, and that's available on the UN Women Arabic YouTube channel. So if you have any questions about this or want to have a better understanding on finance, you can have a look at the UN Women Arabic channel and get access to that.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, this is something that you know, everyone needs to really get their head wrapped around. It's got a lot of moving parts. It's not that simple.
And we'll be doing other follow-up sessions on this, because finance is so important. And I know that this is one of the biggest areas that entrepreneurs struggle with. So we will be having a number of more detailed financial sessions that will go into things like profit and loss and understanding the reports that you need to run your business.
Yeah, super key. I recommend for everyone to do it, even people that have done it before. It's a toughie, you know. Finance is always, it's one of the, I don't know if it's a woman thing, but I have always struggled with it a little bit. You know, it's something that like I need some help, and all, you know, all things said, you have to be willing to admit that to yourself. when you start your business. One of the most important things. You have to allocate what your weaknesses are, and don't be scared of them. You know, you really need to own your weaknesses and find solutions for them. Find others to help you with that. You know, it could really make or break your business in the long run. So, customer acquisition costs, as it says and as it sounds, this is very marketing. So all those touch points, how much, this is a good example is Google, right? So for advertising in Google, let's say you do ads and you're spending, I don't know, 1 dirham per click, and you have 10 people click, that's 10 dirhams, right? But from these 10 people, I don't know, 1 person buys from your website. Your customer acquisition there is 10 dirhams. 10 dirhams for 1 person. It's a lot. So this number, you have to look at your full marketing plan and calculate. And it's got a lot of other numbers associated with it when you're doing marketing calculation. But you need to be reducing your customer acquisition costs so that your profit will be higher. Because for every spend you're doing on customer, it's coming out of your bottom line at the end of the day, right? So that 10 dirhams, if they only bought something for 100 dirhams, that makes like 90 dirhams. And then if your cost is like, I don't know, 40 dirhams, then you only made 50 dirhams on that product. And then if you take up all your other costs, you know, the cost of marketing, the cost of all your other activities, it could be that you made like 5 dirhams from that whole interaction only. So you got to run your numbers here to understand this on a deeper level. All right, so we're kind of coming to a conclusion of what we've covered. But most importantly, reviewing and revising shouldn't be overlooked, right? So when is the right time to review and revise your business plan? If you're looking for investors, let's say you set it up by yourself, whether you set it up or you didn't set up. I know a lot of people mentioned that they haven't done one, and maybe some of them are coming to a point where they want to ask for money or funds. You know, they want to get an investor on board. An investor is going to want to see a very comprehensive business plan, because at the end of the day, they're giving you money. So they want to know, you know, everything about your business and everything about you and everything about the people involved with you, because they're going to trust you with their money, with their funds. So this is the time, if you've already written one, to review it, revise it, adjust it based on your current situation. Mention inside, you know, what has gone right, what has gone wrong, you know, make it clear. Say, I had these KPIs and we reached them, or we didn't, but then we shifted and then we reached them. So this is good. This investor, she sees like a proof of concept here. They can see that you planned it and that now it's reaching its goals. It's very good. Like as an investor, you'll be like, yeah, okay, this business is moving. I will invest into it. If you have any market change, so what does that mean? I don't know, maybe tomorrow you set up a salon business and 10 salons open next to you, right? This is a major market shift for you. You have to reconsider things. You have to reconsider maybe the services that you're offering. Maybe you're going to need more marketing, more this, more that. So a lot of what we talked about in the business plan will change. And you need to go back and edit that and see how that will affect, because all these changes have financial long-term change implications. So going through it again with the changes that you plan on making and doing your financial planning all over again is really important to reframe things for yourself. If you're adding a new product or service, kind of touched a little bit on market change, because that could affect what you're offering. But yeah, you know, maybe I don't know, you found another way of selling your product and you want to go that route, but you need to sit and plan it out. You can't just, you know, put money towards it and hope it goes. Again, same thing needs to apply. The research, the planning, the finance implication, and so on and so forth.
And Gergana, that's actually a question that was asked a few times, is people wanted to know at what point in your business could you think about diversifying? Do you have any thoughts on that just before we move on?
I would say if you can handle the financial implication of diversifying. So diversifying involves time. Sure, time from you, time from the people that work with you. And you have to calculate if that time is available or if you have to add resources. So are you willing to add resources towards that? Do you have the financial means to do so? And you have the time to do it. That has to be a part of it. I mean, you could, you know, even if, let's say, your business, it also could be that you need to pivot. So maybe you opened your business and now you're like, this isn't working, but I see this that could work. So that could be a potential for you there as well. So it's both. It's kind of when you decide if you have enough time to do it and money to do it, or maybe sometimes you need to do it. You know, you need to pivot, you need to change. And also if you're seeing positive growth and the business is self-sustaining, right? Like, so now your business is paying for itself, then for sure you have more time and you can actually maybe look at diversifying at that point. So you have to make that judgment call based on that, those three things.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So the key takeaway that I love to say is never give up. I don't know why this is slow. Never give up, but know when to change course. Sorry, we skipped that whole slide. Never give up, but know when to change course. And plan for that. There it is. Plan for that, you know? Things don't work out, but saying, oh my God, I failed, this is wrong, it's not gonna help, right? You have to keep going. You've learned so much wherever you are in your plan that, or your business, that you don't lose that learning, you know? Take it and switch it, flip it, do what you need to do and make it work. That's definitely what I would advise everyone.
Gergana, that was great. Thank you so much. Now, don't go anywhere, people, because we have so many questions to get through. I've been grouping them from people because you've been asking questions after she's moved on from a subject. So if you ask something, don't worry, I've noted it down that we'll go through that. But if you are going to be logging off in a second, please can I ask that you do fill in the survey. My colleague Maya has been posting the link in the box. It really helps us because, you know, as UN Women in NAMA, that we also have KPIs as well for the program. And for us to continue delivering things like this for you, we really need to be able to get the information to be able to present it back to show that it's making a difference and it's helping you as well with your business. So please, if you can fill in the survey, I'll just post it really quickly in the link box as well. But if you could please do that, just to let you know too, that there will be emails that you're having over the next day or so on extra workshops that will be happening this month. There's an Arabic session on Sunday on the business model canvas, and then there's going to be a digital marketing session at the end of this month as well, which is going to be focused for people who are a little bit more experienced on digital marketing. One thing, if I can just make a point as well, that I'm noticing as well in the comment box that there are a few people who are posting and trying to sell their services for doing different things around business planning and things like that. This is non-commercial, and of course we're here to support you to grow your business, but I would ask you please not to be posting and marketing and trying to sell to people within this group, because that's not what this is here for. We're here to support everybody with knowledge and skills and not to be selling, okay? So if I can just ask people to be mindful of that, please. Right, Gergana, let's go back. We're going to start at the beginning where we started with research and surveys, and then move down towards the end again, because on the survey and research side, we have a lot of questions. So on the survey, okay, a number of people asked about how to distribute a digital survey.
Okay. So Facebook groups are a great source, I found before. Online, what you can do, you can post an ad, you can do it through Google, you can do it through Instagram. You can pass it on into links. Like a lot of people, okay, we did mention not to rely too heavily on your friends, but people know people, and chances are that they can spread it for you. You can partner up with a business. If you have a mentor, for example, One of my partners, she works for Ford on her actual work, and she has an access to send it to all the Ford employees. So the more people you know, or people that know is a good way to do it. LinkedIn, also great. LinkedIn, you can post, you can actually make it an ad, so it has more reach. So don't be afraid to put money behind it. You might need to get more reach than what you would naturally get.
Yeah, and that's also another area that people were asking about, is how would you really find your targeted customers if you're doing an online survey? So I think you elaborated on some of that, but I don't know if you have any further detail on how you would do that.
Well, one of your first main questions in your first survey should include some of that information, naturally. Where, how old are you? Where are you from? These questions automatically put people in certain categories. I think the trickiest part about a survey is formulating the questions, because you need to not keep it too long. It needs to be short enough. But the way the questions are written could really help you or hurt you, right? And this, if you don't know how to do it, there's a lot of information out there online on how to write a really good survey questionnaire. And again, there is companies that do that for you as well. So if you don't want to go through that learning process, you don't have the time, you can go, like Tuluna is one that I use because it's just on the top of my head, but they can help you do that. Say, listen, I want help formulating a questionnaire. So some of these big companies like them, and there's at least 2 or 3 that come out of the top of my mind. They already have a database of people, and they already have a database of people that's already segmented. So they've built this database. They already know from them how many men, how many women. They already even know some of their preferences. So they could really help you in kind of, narrowing down that. Because what you could also do is ask, let's say, a certain set of questions to only female or only male, or only 20-year-olds or only 30-year-olds. And that, again, it's in the end of it, you get so much data, but you have to kind of comb through it and find your insight, and you will see it, like when you look at it, it should come in like a chart, or make a chart of it. And when you see like the majority are here, then you're like, okay, so this makes, sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's talk SWOT analysis. What's your recommendation? How often should people be repeating the SWOT analysis for their business?
SWOT analysis. I wouldn't advise monthly, just because it's very heavy, but maybe quarterly, like when you're going through your quarterly results, and then you can, as your business grows, you can kind of reevaluate. But you should always have an eye out, always have an eye out in your industry, whatever it is. You need to know all the news. You need to know who's in, who's out, what's happening. You need to be in touch with a bit of the government regulations, if that's going to impact you in any way. You need to be your own source of info.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you should always be researching and learning, and keep an eye out on what's going on as well. The other thing with pricing and how to decide, can research help to decide the price of products? Somebody wants to know how they can decide the price of their products.
So pricing is slightly tricky, because you'd have to look at the other products in your market, see what they're pricing, because most likely what they're succeeding at, whatever their price is, it's working for them, right? That's number one.
Yeah.
But then you have to look at your customer. If you're targeting a certain customer, you will find out how much they're making on average, and you can get that information, as a bulk. Can they afford your product? Maybe, your way into the market is to lower your price so that you can capture that market, because maybe it's too expensive what's out there for them. And it could be that the price that others are setting are working for a different customer, but not working for the other customer, maybe your customer. So you need to consider the price on your customer and on your market, and also on your bottom line. How much profit are you looking to make, and what you're comfortable with? It's like long-term planning versus short-term gain. Sometimes people want to just make quick money and you see like prices are crazy and it doesn't make sense. Okay, maybe it does for a little bit, but then you also have to think, is the customer going to come back and buy this again? Right? It's a bit tricky because you have to set your company at a certain level, and you have to understand like which, what's your price bracket, what's the customers that you're targeting, and are they able to buy again from you and all that.
Yeah, and that we are going to be running a session later in the year on pricing as well, because pricing is very important. And I know that some people really struggle with that and make sure that you're actually making a profit from the pricing. So we'll be looking at that in more detail. One person asked as well, how can you be unique as a business with so much competition in the market now? Do you have any thoughts on that?
It's a good question. It's a very good question. And what I would say is brand and marketing all the way. Emotions. The image you build, the way it touches your customer, how transparent you are to your specific customer. If they relate to you, they will come back to you. Let's look at really good examples. You have luxury brands. Luxury brands, I love to use them as an example because they are the masters of this, right? So they've created a brand which you're overpaying for, right? It's just ridiculous. But they've created this aura of who you would be if you buy that brand or if you have that brand. So they've created this emotion of like you feeling better when you have it. And you keep buying it, even if you can't afford it. Some people save up for months to buy that bag, right? But they do because they want to be the person that this brand is portraying. So if you look at it rationally, it shouldn't work, right? But because of the emotion, because of the brand, because of the messages, because of the transparency, it works. So that should be, your area of focus. You need to look at creating a very strong brand. The communication needs to be key. The way you show the images, the way you make people feel, little touches. Sometimes you order something and in the box comes something super sweet. These are emotions. We're emotional creatures as human beings. We'll always go emotion first and logic second. So that would be my answer for that.
100%.
For sure.
Okay, let's talk about our favorite topic that we were speaking about this morning is SEO. So a few people have asked me, do you hire an agency or do you do it on your own? Or do you do both?
I would advise based of what I know is not to hire an agency. Potentially the pitfalls of agency for SEO can be major. Agencies are out to show you that they're doing good, but on the back end, they can get your site shut down. Actually, they could do some shady work on the backlinks, which is basically means that sites that are referencing your site are not real sites. They're fake sites. So they create fake sites or they feed into fake sites to reference your site. And what Google does when they see too much of that, they shut down your site. And then you fire the agency has their money, and you just lost your site. So do your research on SEO, bring in an expert to teach you, at least know enough to be able to know how to check, how to follow. Maybe you still want to hire an agency, but if you know how to check the backlinks, if you know what you're looking for, then you can manage that. But if you don't know what you're looking for and it's like, aspirational, then it's bad.
And what you and I were saying is that it's almost better if you're going to pay an agency to do anything, it's to pay them to do your AdWords. That's a little bit safer because that can take a lot of time. But on the SEO, you can do it yourself. And that's something else that both Gergana and I have been doing with our businesses. And I worked with somebody as well and managed to, within 4 months, go from brand new site to first page on Google. So there are ways that you can do it, yourself as well. So, and we will be doing a session and a UN Women workshop on that. So we'll be able to coach you and show you how to do that too.
Yeah. And keywords as well, not to mention.
Keywords are so
Keywords
important. Yeah. So a couple of last ones, and then we'll wrap it up on time. How would you recommend to find the right marketing agency? I think a lot of people, we had a lot of comments in the chat saying that there's a lot of marketing agencies that promise the sun, the moon, and the stars, and then when it comes down to delivering, they aren't achieving the results. And if you have any top tips on how people might be able to find an agency that is going to deliver results for them.
So this is very tricky because there's a lot of agencies out there. So I would, budget depending, I would normally not consider an agency, but just because you might consider a smaller agency, someone that, understands small business. Big agencies charge a lot of money. Like you can get charged hundreds of thousands for a brand guideline, or you can find even a freelancer to do it for 20 or 15 or 10, You need to evaluate the cost, but you also need to see examples of their work. You need to see what they've done, and you need to see that it's relevant for you, right? And some agencies don't specialize in everything. You might not need everything. You might just need, someone to manage your social page. You might just need videos. You might need images. Determine what you need, and then find a small agency or even a freelancer that you've seen their work. You've seen proof of concept. A lot of people say, I do, I don't know, the page for Smile. And then you look at Smile and it's horrible. So look at their examples of work, judge whether or not the work that they've done is achieving some result. Don't trust them because everyone says they can do it all. And most of the time they can't, and if they outsource, they'll charge you more. And that's how it goes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Look at examples of their work creatively, ask them to share with you their reach and their click through and all that information, get a case study. And, even sometimes you can actually go to a brand that you find that's doing really well and ask them who they're using. They might tell you, they might not, but it's another way of trying to find a good one.
Excellent. And the last question that I have as well, and more aspirational as people start to grow their businesses, they wanted your recommendations. At what point would a business go to find investors?
I personally would try to create a proof of concept first. So I would get a business started, going, see like the financials go up, see it moving, and then look for investors. There is different points. You can get an investor at an idea stage, but I think that only works if you have something that you really can capitalize on. Like, so a lot of the fintech, the guys are developers themselves. They have the skill in them and they've partnered with someone that can set. Maybe in that case, an investor will be like, wow, this idea is so revolutionary that I'll help you get it to a working model. But other businesses, I think it's more appealing for an investor if they see it running, if they see it working, if they see you managing it well, if they see like the financials showing well. It's much easier, because then you're like, look what I've done. I need more money now because I want to grow. And please, take a look at the details and so forth. So my advice would be that. Again, it depends on your business.
Definitely. And in September as well, towards the end of the month, we will be having a workshop on investment as well and finding investors for your business. So that will be another one where we can do a deep dive into that. So you see, ladies, there's so many questions around entrepreneurship that we have. And we've got a workshop for that. So we've got the next 18 months to the end of 2022. So there's a lot of opportunities to go through all of this. Actually, last question, Gergana, is that a few people asked as well about how they would create their business plan. Would it be something that they would create in Word or PowerPoint, or does it matter? Or do you have recommendations on what would work?
Depends on who your viewer is, right? If you're pitching to an investor or you're doing it for yourself. If you're doing it for yourself, maybe just the Word document is fine. Maybe you want to make it. If you're doing it for an investor, look at who your investors are, see if it has to be something more visual, but you need it to look super professional. You need it to look factual. You need finance, the finance to be on Excel sheet. You're going to need, things to be written out properly, visuals to be done properly. So if it's an investor thing, do it right. You can use a PowerPoint, but I would more lean towards Word, and then adding like imagery within to Word. That's more of a document. PowerPoint is obviously, if you're going to present to someone, that's different. So you need to see the intention to determine the answer to that.
Excellent.
For me,
Gergana, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, I just had another point. If you're doing it just for yourself, maybe, the canvases, all these like template things, they're a lot more visual and they're easier for you to digest for yourself. So maybe that could work if you're doing it just for yourself.
Yeah. Well, Gergana, thank you so much for your time today. It was a really, really interesting session. And I think it's clarified so much for people on business plans. And I hope as well that it's shown everyone that you are able to create a business plan yourself, that it's not something that you need to pay hundreds of thousands of dirhams for, especially if you're just starting up, that this is something that you can do yourself and something that you should do yourself because it helps for you to understand how to run your business. So thank you so much, Gergana, for sharing your time and your knowledge and your insight. And thank you so much as well to UN Women and to NAMA Women Advancement Establishment for supporting this program and to supporting women entrepreneurs in the UAE. And as I always say, remember, ladies, we're stronger together, we work together, and we're able to grow our businesses together. So stay tuned for more emails coming from UN Women. Please do make sure that you're registered on the mailing list. We would be grateful for you to fill in the survey that Maya has created so we can follow our KPIs, and you will be getting emails shortly about the next sessions coming up. So thank you again to everybody for your time, and we'll see you on the next session.